Hello and welcome to the third episode of When Luke Met Sully. Today we are discussing the 1998 film Can't Hardly Wait, written and directed by Harry Elfont and Deborah Kaplan. My name is Luke.
I'm Sully.
I'm Brianna.
I'm Lou.
Yes, they will be our guests for this episode, for episode 3. And we'll start out, if you guys could share what your favorite romance films are, so that the audience can get a feel for what perspective you're bringing to the table.
Ooh, my favorite, it's got to be 10 Things I Hate About You. My all-time favorite romance movie. Me Before You is also really, really good. I love it. It's like top 2.
Well, we've been talking about having that on the podcast, so.
Also, copycat over here.
Oh,
10 Things I Hate About You is my favorite movie.
yeah.
Come on. I said that on the podcast. She watched the episode. She was like, okay, I'm just going to. It's my favorite movie now.
Yeah, that's why
Yeah.
I watched it, because I watched the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'd say I have like 2 and they're really different. I really like Casablanca. I don't really have much to say about it. I just really like it. I saw it a really long time ago and I still like rewatch it to this day. And my other one it's kind of campy. It's Juno. It's a cute little stupid movie. I just like it a lot and I think it's like it's just more current than Casablanca.
And Suleiman already spoiled his, but.
Yeah. 10 Things I Hate About You is the best. Just the best. There's no arguing with that. Sorry.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, this, Can't Hardly Wait. This is my favorite romance film of all time. I love this movie like crazy. So I will talk about that, but first I'd like to hear you guys' perspective. This was your first time watching it?
Yeah, first time.
Okay. Did you guys like the film or?
I did. I really liked it. I wasn't really expecting it to be like all about a party, I guess. I thought it was going to be more like about like the graduation day, like the actual graduation day, not like the party after. But I really liked it, and I really liked him. He was my favorite. He was really funny. So yeah.
I really liked it. I like the kind of typical high school stereotypes they kind of put the characters in. I think it's like fun to see, and I thought the character dynamics actually played out well.
Suleiman?
I liked it. I mean, I've watched it twice now, and both times was a very fun watch, you know. My favorite character, you know, I'm torn between those two at the end, because the one in the back with this
William and Kenny.
William and the other guy, yeah.
So you're
I think
copying
I like William more, honestly. William, he's just so funny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, if we're going around the same favorite characters, my favorite character is Preston. I guess I just see a lot of myself in him. But I also really like Mike Dexter and how he comes out is the wrong way to say that. How he kind of like not transforms, but reveals himself throughout the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I like Denise. I think she's my favorite character. I know she's a background character, but I did just really like the kind of the way her character developed through the movie, and the way her and Kenny, I don't know, just the way their personalities are kind of so juxtaposed and how they came together at the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that was I mean, I like all of the subplots, but they're all really good. So also, you kind of mentioned it, but if we're talking about like how the romances worked, like how Preston and Amanda kind of got to be together, and then how Kenny and Denise kind of got to be together. Like, how do you think that? Do you think that development worked for the both of them, or you can focus on a specific one? But
yeah, I mean, personally, I liked Kenny and Denise more. And I know the whole thing was kind of supposed to be about Preston and Amanda. And I think it's really cute how he wrote her the letter, and then she went to the station, like, at the end. But I think Kenny and Denise, it was just more natural, especially because they knew each other before, and they had that, like, not argument, but they kind of, like, left. They both stopped being friends with each other for their reasons. And I like how they came back together, so it was cute.
I also would say the same thing about Kenny and Denise. I think the forced proximity trope is really fun, and I think that's probably one of my favorites. So I like the way their personalities really like contradict with each other, and how he kind of got out of this like that facade that he kind of puts up around at the party, and he kind of takes it down when they start talking more and more about how they were when they were in elementary school.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't love Kenny and Denise, honestly. It's just okay. I liked where it started, but it's just after the breakup, like the first time, and then they go back together, and it's like they break up again, and it's just I didn't like that part of it. Like I think I would have appreciated it more if it was like maybe it was a little harder for them to get together at first, but then it's like it's stuck instead of it being like this weird thing where they keep separating and coming back together. I do like the main romance plot though. I think it's sweet the way it works out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think like Lou said, the kind of trope of them, the close proximity of them getting trapped in the bathroom, it could have felt draggy and boring, but I think that what this movie does really well is like I don't think there's a single scene that I'm bored by, even though I've seen this movie about 200 times. I don't think I'm bored by a single scene in this movie, and it's just so tight too. Like every line of dialogue progresses the story, progresses a character, which it's funny because it wasn't originally like that, and they cut so much in post, but originally they wrote it really lengthy and dialogue-y, and but they cut a lot of it, and I think it really served it well because it just feels so tight and so purposeful with every scene. So I like that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't think Kenny and Denise like passed then the movie ended. I don't think they lasted very long.
Yeah.
No.
There's no way. There's no way.
I mean, the last we saw them, they technically were together, but that's after breaking up 5 minutes before,
Right.
then getting back together.
It's just a lot. No, like
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're definitely not lasting. But
But
okay.
I love Preston and Amanda's story. Maybe it's the I don't know, hopeless romantic in me, but just how it all progresses and how much Preston and Amanda kind of learn throughout the movie about themselves and kind of become the people that they need to be to end up with each other at the end. Even though Preston starts out like totally head over heels in love with Amanda, he still has to kind of go through that night to be where he has to be at the end to be with Amanda and to have that relationship be successful. And same thing with Amanda too, because she doesn't know who Preston is at the beginning of the film, but he knows it. See, it starts out because he doesn't know her, so, but he knows that there's more to her. He knows that he sees her as a person, even though he hasn't really interacted with her. He sees her as a person, which even people who have interacted with her and who've dated her for 4 years don't really see her as a person. Mm-hmm. And so I love that about their relationship, and I love the way that they bring the idea of fate into it, and the scene with the angel character. I think that just works so well because the way that it plays out, it's kind of like, and I've watched it so many times, and I'm like, she says this thing where, fate can only take you so far, but it's your actions that define the outcome. But then you watch the movie and it's like, but literally this letter was in the trash, and it goes right to Amanda. Like, how is that not just simply fate? But then that's not all that has to happen. And even after finding that speech was kind of more for Amanda's development because she still has to go to him at the end of the train station. So I've been talking for a really long time, but I really like this movie.
Yeah. No, I agree with what you're saying. And I kind of like how, like, on that topic of fate, how even though Amanda did go to the train station, they kind of, like, split up at the beginning. Or not split up, but, Preston was like, I got to go to my train already. But then he thought about it, and then he went back to her and, like, gave her the kiss and everything. So I really like that because I guess that also shows how important that conversation with the angel was out with like the fae and like taking your chance. Like, don't just be like a wimp, you know?
Yeah, I like the angel conversation. I think was probably my favorite scene in that movie. I think it's very symbolic of, you know, you can't just give up if you really really want something. You have to go out and get it, even if it seems like you may not get it at first.
Yeah, I agree with you all. That's really true. You know, the most interesting part, and Luke touched on this, was the letter to me. You know, like I have a question, right? Like, if some, like, okay, two questions actually. One, would you give somebody a letter when you're asking them out? And two, how would you respond if somebody gave you a letter?
Oh my God, I have a story. It's so bad. When I, sorry,
No, you're
I'm
good.
gonna go off
Good.
topic.
Go ahead.
No, it's
But-
on topic. It's,
Well, yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. That's
Very
true.
on topic.
When I was in 7th grade, I went to the movie it was on Valentine's Day. I went with 3 of my friends. One of like my friends that was a girl and then 2 guys. And it wasn't a double date or anything. Like we were very much friends. And then at the end, this one guy, he gave me this Valentine's Day letter and I was like, "Oh, he's giving it to everyone. Like, happy Valentine's Day, whatever." And then he's like, "Don't read it in front of everyone." And I'm like, why don't you want me to read it? He's like, "Go read it in the bathroom. Like, I don't want you reading it." So I was like, okay. So then I went to the bathroom and I read it. And then it was like, "I'm in love with you. I've loved you for so long. Like, for all the years I've known you."
Well, it can't be more than 12 years.
literally, like, it was like 2 years, not even. And so I was like, what the heck? Because I did not like him. So then I leave the bathroom after reading it and he left. So then I called him. And I'm like, "Okay, hey, what's up?" And he said, "Don't call me right now. Call me in the morning. It's too late." And I was just like, it was crazy. But
Couldn't make time for you that night, you know.
yeah, I was like, after you give me that letter, you can't make time for me.
He was
But
half-
halfway through watching Can't Hardly Wait. He has
Yeah.
to finish
yeah,
the movie.
like literally. And we were watching the Sonic movie. It
Oh
was
my
so
gosh.
funny.
God.
But back to your question, like, I think getting a letter, I think it could be cute, but I wouldn't want it to happen to me just because from experience it did happen to me and it was not in like a good light. So I do not want a letter, not again. Please.
Not again. Okay.
Yeah.
Would you give one?
I don't know. I don't think I would give one like how Preston gave one, like, "Oh, I've loved you for 4 years," but maybe just like a,
Like if you've
Short
talked
one.
to the person before.
yeah, like if it's not like,
you know this person.
yeah, but that's it.
I think a lot of people know. I don't know who's watching this, but a lot of people know I'm a big Perks of Being a Wallflower fan. It's my all-time favorite movie. I really enjoy writing letters. I think parting letters and birthday cards, all that, I'm really good at. I'm good at like expressing myself through words, just not in conversation because I'm awkward. So I really do believe in giving letters. I think confessing, however, that's something you kind of have to do in person. I think it's a little bit less awkward, even if it's a tough conversation, but you have to do it. And in life, you have to have hard conversations. So
Yeah.
I don't think letters are the way to go.
Me personally, would I give a letter? That's a good one. I'm glad I came up with that question for myself. I would actually. I think it just I wouldn't put too much in it, just so it isn't that much. And also, I'd need to know the person for a while. But I think I'd give one. If someone gave one to me, I think I'd like it. Honestly, I think it'd be nice.
I wrote letters to most of my graduating senior friends last year. So I kind of I can say what I have to say without being too emotional because they're ready to get out and I'm still here. So I think it's a way of expressing yourself without being awkward. So I definitely would give. Receiving, I don't know. I feel I'm awkward. So
Yeah, it definitely allows for a really different kind of communication than in-person conversation and texting even, because it's just not the same as being able to say, this is a physical letter, this is what I've written. You don't get to respond right away. I don't know, but it's just it's really different, and so there's nothing that can really replace it, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is like what you put in the letter matters a lot though. Like you open the letter and it's like you're so beautiful. You have like the most wonderful eyes. Like I'm in love with you. Like that's a lot to put on a person at one time.
And you can't take it back either. You can unsend a text message,
Yeah.
but you can't take it back
Yes.
a letter once I have it.
You hand
And
it
I-
to them, you snatch it out of their hand, rip it up.
Yeah, and I think that if you're going to do a letter the way that Preston did, never having talked to the girl before, it can't be about I'm in love with you. I think you're so beautiful. It has to be more about like what he talked about in the movie. It has to be more about I think that we are in the same proximity, we're in the same point in our lives, we're in the same place for a reason, and I think that it'd be cool to get to know you. Which I think is mostly pretty much what the letter was, and I think that that's the only way that it can really work, especially if you're in the position of Preston where you've never talked to her before. So,
Some sound advice.
But they
Yeah.
ate the same Pop-Tart
Yeah, this
Yes.
is
tart
In the same class.
in the same
Right next to
class,
each other.
Right next to each other.
that was something that kind of like
It's fate.
seemed kind of like, so even if he missed out on that opportunity to talk to her the very first day because he didn't give her the tour, they still sat next to each other the entire English class. Like he never raised his hand to answer a question and she never looked at him. You know, like just, I don't know. I mean, that's one of my very few nitpicks about the movie just because I've watched it so many times, because there's this scene then when the girl who Amanda asks if she's seen Preston, and she's like, oh, well, he only sat next to you entire freshman English class. And I'm like, well, yeah, he did. Like, I feel like you would at least have some idea of who he is.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's one of my few nitpicks about the movie.
Yeah, I feel like there's not many people who I don't talk to in my class. I mean, I'm not in love with every single person in any of my classes, but I think I still talk to most people, if not all of them.
Or at least have a general awareness that they exist.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
At least I know their names.
Mhm.
And
Yeah, I feel like everybody just knows everybody's face here.
maybe that's just here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that might just
Yeah.
be a private school thing, but
Yeah.
at the same time, you're going, like, he's sitting right next to you.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think if they were in the same class, okay, but they sit right next to each other.
Mhm.
I feel like there's somewhere like, oh, hey, do you have a pencil?
Mhm.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of the Pop-Tart, the most complicated shot in the movie was the Pop-Tart falling from the desk.
Really?
From that
Oh.
when it was falling down, they essentially had to set up they said it was like 4 stories tall, where
Really?
like they had like the desk at the top and the camera at the bottom, and they let the Pop-Tart fall in slow motion. But in order to get it to turn like however many times it did, to get like the really real effect of the shot, they had to. It was really complicated, which I thought was really funny because it doesn't look very
Yeah.
complicated.
It seems
Yeah.
like it would
Wow.
be the easiest one.
Yeah.
What is that, like a worm's eye shot, technically?
Pretty much, yeah. Which is funny because that was we had to do a scene recreation project in film, and my scene was going to be that scene where she walks in and then he sees the Pop-Tart, and I was like, this is gonna be an easy scene. I go to a school, and I never really like finished it, but it would have been funny if I got to that part and
Oh, yeah.
realized how hard it would have been.
Yeah.
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 My
Yeah.
contributions are like, you know,
Did
I think I'm the
you,
most essential person here.
Did you watch
Clearly.
the movie?
I did watch the movie, yeah. The characters, they were great.
You know
Yeah.
the characters?
When they advanced the plot, that was crazy.
Whoa.
No, the characters really are great though. like I think Mike Dexter is definitely one of my favorite characters, and like the way that he delivers lines and the way that he kind of evolves throughout the film, and like he just one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie is the scene with him and William at the piano towards the end, because it just cracks me up every time that he's like, hey, remember that time that you were supposed to give that big speech and I tripped you? And then he apologized. And then he's like, when was that anyway? And then, oh, well, first of all, what cracks me up is the way that he says, I'm sorry. Like, it makes me laugh so hard for no reason. And then he goes, well, when was that anyway? And he's like, that was this morning at graduation. Like, it's just so funny to me. And the way that same with the conversation with Trip McNeely and the way that burp, like they both burp throughout the movie. Like at the beginning, he's like he has that line. His first line is literally just a burp, and then Trip McNeely in that scene burps to kind of show the relation between the two. And right after Trip McNeely says it, he says the line about guys like them being a dime a dozen. And then he does the burp, and so yeah, they really are a dime a dozen. So
Yeah, this movie's so deep, even with its burps.
Yeah.
no, yeah, the burp is one of the deepest parts of the movie.
In the beginning, Mike Dexter really reminds me of Joey from 10 Things I Hate About You.
Mm.
Just that kind of like, I had a word, but I don't think I can say it.
Go for
Kind
it.
of just like arrogance that they kind of exude. They're very popular. They're very considered very attractive, very, top-notch high school characters.
So another thing that comes up is in the director commentary is, well, how do we make the most popular girl in school? Like, how do we make the audience feel bad for her? And so that's what they struggled with during the scene where she's talking to her cousin, and she's talking about how, well, who am I outside of, being Mike's boyfriend and all these things. And so I guess my question is, do you think that it worked? Like, do you think that it did make her kind of sympathetic and kind of made it feel bad for her? I mean, like as a first-time viewer, at least.
I think it helps. I think just from the beginning, I kind of felt bad for her, just because I don't really know why, but I think it's just because it was such a big thing, especially when she walked in the party and people were like, oh, like she's here, like she just got broken up with. I can't believe she's here. So I think I felt more prone to feel bad for her because of that scene. But then also when like her cousin went in and kissed her, that's when I was like, oh, like what the heck? Like you're literally my cousin. And I thought it was kind of funny how
Through marriage.
yeah, through marriage.
Through
Because then he
marriage.
was like, don't tell my
Cousin.
parents. That was funny. But yeah, I did feel bad for her, but I think it was more because of that scene when she was walking in the house. And then kind of every time I saw her, I was like, oh, I feel bad for this girl. So yeah.
I think it sucks, like, to have your identity kind of reduced to one thing. And I think that this movie kind of does that well, is like, they're like, yeah, this is who she is. But really, she's deeper. She writes, I'm assuming she finds out she really likes writing. She might writes Preston a letter every single day that he's gone for college. And I think that's a nice way to, like, characterize her. She's not just this one thing. She's not just this cheerleader, this homecoming queen. She's more than that.
Yeah, I didn't like. It was so like because you don't like him, like for the whole thing, and it's like up until it's like clear that he's got like a little thing. It's almost like satisfying at that part because now she hates him, and it's like God, I can't remember his name. It's like
Mike?
Mike Dexter.
oh no the cousin.
cousin?
Oh,
It's like
oh.
is it Sam?
I don't know.
Oh, no, I don't know.
No.
It's irrelevant.
He's irrelevant.
Yeah.
He sucks.
Okay, whatever. The cousin. The creepy cousin.
Cousin.
Yeah, but it is. You just hate him from the start, and it is nice that, like it. What do I say? It's like, it does make you feel good when she hates him too, and
Yeah.
she's like your girl, and it's also really funny when he's like, you're not gonna tell my parents about this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought it was going to be like that he turned out to be gay or something. And then Preston was going to walk in and they were just going to be like sitting next to each other, like on that scene in the couch that were like one time. But yeah, I wasn't expecting him to be like, oh, I'm in love with, I love you so much, let me kiss you. I thought he was going to be gay and it was just going to be like a misunderstanding. But yeah.
I love it when characters that are made to be hated are hated or removed. May I add from Lit, Richard Sterling, who nobody likes, is then murdered.
Yeah, definitely. I think you mentioned misunderstanding. One of the things that I never knew, there was a lot of this movie that they had to cut out. because they really wanted it to be PG-13, but they kept getting the R rating, and so they had to cut a lot of it out. And one of the things they cut out like whole subplots of this film, which I would like love to see a full cut of this movie, but they have never released it. I looked really hard to find the deleted scenes, but one of the deleted subplots was they had a character named Crying Drunk Girl, and her whole like shtick was that she was drunk the whole party and she was also crying the whole party, and so nobody could understand what she was saying, but like she was just saying gibberish, and the audience couldn't understand what she's saying either. She's just saying gibberish, but she would have subtitles on her, and the whole joke would be that she would, every time there was a misunderstanding, she would be trying to tell the characters that it was just a misunderstanding, but nobody could understand her. So like one of the specific times that they referenced was that, you know how, and this was something that I kind of always thought about when I watched it before I watched the commentary, but you know how in the scene where they first get stuck in the bathroom, how it goes out the door and down the stairs really fast, and then it just kind of goes down and spins around. And I always thought, like, well, shouldn't that just transition straight into another scene? Like, it goes down the stairs and then it goes right into the house. But originally it did, and, you know, they're banging on the door and it goes down the stairs and it's Crying Drunk Girl. And she says, like, gibberish, but on the subtitles it says, "Hey, guys, I think I hear someone upstairs banging on the door." And it's just, like, little things like that that just sounded so great to me, and I just would love to see that.
Oh yeah, I think they should have kept that in. That's like a funny like character bit. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad they kept the guy that couldn't speak English though.
Oh,
Yeah,
the
that was
exchange student.
Mm-hmm.
Was
Yes.
he French? I couldn't tell what
I thought he was
accent
think he was-
German.
I don't know
Russian
what his
or something?
accent was.
Yeah, me
I don't
neither, but
remember. That was funny though.
I love reoccurring bit characters. I love those.
I liked the guy that went in the back. He was always stealing something.
yes.
That was funny.
Okay, so I have a list. I tried to keep track of everything that he stole in the movie. He stole from the gas station in the beginning. He stole right after when they're in the scene where the three girlfriends are talking to Amanda about like trying to make her feel better. You see him in the background like shove something in his coat and then walk off. And then when the band is fighting, he takes a shirt from the band, and then he steals the cop car, and then he takes a gumball machine from the diner at the end. That was something that I always wanted to do, was like actually sit down and keep track of all the things he stole, and I finally did it for the podcast. So
When I watched it last night, and then I watched it again this morning because I don't have a 1B. So I was watching. I was like, then I realized, I was like, oh, he keeps taking stuff, and I was like, oh.
yeah. And another thing, like even the diner scene, there was so much cut down from that. Originally in the diner scene, you would have seen basically every single character from the movie in the diner. Like I think in the final cut, you see the guy who tells all the stories and the yearbook girl, and then you see Mike and his friends and Denise and Kenny and Preston. But originally, like the foreign exchange student was there, Crying Drunk Girl was there, but she obviously got cut from the movie. And the cousin would have shown up again too. So there was just a lot of like, it just kind of all tied together a lot more in the end. I mean, obviously to me, it's still a perfect movie, but they originally had a lot more. I think that that's really cool to know.
Yeah, it would have been interesting to see.
That's another cool bit. I like the yearbook girl. That was
Yes.
she was probably one of my favorite like background characters. Was, hey, sign my yearbook. Where's your senior portrait?
And
Yeah.
they throw her yearbook in the pool.
In the pool, yeah.
That's rough. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the girl whose house the party is at.
Oh yeah.
the
Oh,
graffiti
Sniffing
was
the
so
floor.
funny.
I always see that in the credits. The credits, she's literally just listed as girl whose party it is. And that always makes me laugh so hard.
Girls who party it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when she starts sniffing the floor, and people are like,
I know.
Yeah, there's a lot of, like, and you mentioned this earlier, there's a lot of similarities between this and 10 Things I Hate About You. Like, they have a house party which trashes the house. They have a main romance plot, a sub-romance plot. It's like, it's similar in other ways too, but like, those are the big ones.
Yeah.
I think this one though, it's a little different though. One, because it doesn't change locations like ever, and it also it's it's like way more fast paced than 10 Things I Hate About
Oh,
You.
yeah.
There's
Yeah.
like so much happening always.
And this isn't within like 2 days, you know. It's
Mhm.
not like 10 Things About Hate About You where it's over like probably a couple months. This is like graduation, party, next day, and that's it.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the reasons that I love this movie so much also, because I just love to think like I wake up in the morning and I'm like, maybe this will be a can't hardly wait day. Like maybe this will be a movie day. Like you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's why I love movies like this, because the whole movie happens in essentially one night. And I always just like think to myself, if I'm going somewhere, like maybe this will be a can't hardly wait day.
Yeah, and also I think when I go and rewatch this movie, because there's so much stuff going on that you'll always catch like something new happening. So I think that'll be good for me when I rewatch it. at least.
Yes.
Yeah. I think another similarity with 10 Things I Hate About You is like the cliques. They're a little bit different, but they're also just like, they're kind of one and the same. It's all these like stereotypical high school students. You know, you had cheerleaders, Amanda's friends, and you know, those jocks, all of Mike Dexter's friends, which I really like that scene where they're at that that like fast food place, and like the future is women.
hmm
That's probably one of my favorite scenes. I just like all the stereotypes. It's very like campy to me.
hmm And yeah, I love how the characters that they actually end up focusing on, you know, you kind of see that subverted through them too, like the way that Mike Dexter turns out. I mean, not really at the very, very end, but the way that you kind of see him for his true nature, and the way that William turns out. I think that's really cool.
Yeah. Also, on like the 10 Things I Hate About You, like kind of topic, I think like one of the differences, because I do agree it's like very similar, is that I think in 10 Things I Hate About You, you definitely see, I guess, more interest, like at least like from the man's perspective, more interest in like the girl, because you'll see like Heath Ledger following like Kat around places, and like here, it's kind of just Preston always talking like, oh, I've kind of liked this girl since day one. And I get it is different because it's like that's in a span of 4 years and everything. But I think if there's is something I would change about this movie, it would be like I would like to see more scenes of them like throughout high school, like of him kind of like watching her and being like, oh yeah, this is another reason why I like this girl so much.
More than just a Pop-Tart.
Yeah, more than a
Yeah,
pop-
yeah. No, I think that'd be cool. I mean, I think it's easy for me to accept it, but but yeah, I think that's another thing too. Like, I think this movie works really well for modern audiences. But if I don't know if there's anything that you guys thought of that felt outdated, maybe not in the sense of like you wouldn't see it in a movie today, but just like it wouldn't work logistically in a movie today. Like if you were trying to market it to modern audiences, but I really don't think that there's much that didn't work about this film from a plot standpoint.
Yeah, I think it's just like a really good movie in general, and I think it keeps you like engaged. Like I said earlier, how it's like there's so many things going on, and I think like anyone now, like if you watched it, like that person, they would like it.
Also, the soundtrack of this movie is really good.
It is really
Yes.
good, yeah.
This movie, the use of music in this movie is. I'm biased, but like this is one of my favorite uses of music in movies ever. The opening song, the Open Road song, is like now one of my favorite songs because of this movie.
Is that Graduation? Is that Third Eye Blind?
No, that comes up too, but the one it's called Open Road Song. It's by Eve
Oh.
Six.
Oh yeah.
That's one of my favorite songs now because of this movie. But also one of my favorite songs before this movie was Romeo and Juliet by the Dire Straits, and that comes in, and it just works so well. And then there's the little songs that play, like when Amanda's putting the pictures of Mike away, and the ending where they meet at the train station. It just works. It just works so well to bring it all together. And I really don't think there's I don't think there's really a single scene in this movie. There aren't many that don't have a music behind it.
Yeah, I like
So-
the Barry Manilow
Yes.
mention.
Yeah.
Yes. Originally, Amanda's name was Wendy, but they needed to give Preston like one more. They kind of were sitting there like we need to give him one more like sign to go into this party.
Right.
So they changed it to Amanda specifically so they could use Mandy.
You know, okay, about the Barry Manilow thing, like she walks up, he's calling Barry Manilow, which like that's a big
Yeah.
thing. Like
I know.
I would be excited to call Barry Manilow. He wasn't like this small guy. He was like famous.
That's
And
Copacabana.
yeah, that's Copacabana. And she's like, you know what, screw you. Boom. And then like I would be pissed too. I'd be like,
Yeah.
dude, you can
So
wait,
mad.
2 minutes. Let me talk to Barry Manilow, then call a taxi. Like
I think I'd have to commit a crime if I was talking to Barry Manilow and someone hung up on me.
just a horrible thing to do.
I mean, that just makes me so mad every single time because also every single time that I watch it, it's one of those scenes that's like, maybe he'll just get to the end of the conversation. Like, you know, when you're watching a movie and you've seen it a million times before, but you kind of think like, maybe it'll just work out.
Yeah.
Like, that's me every time I watch that scene. Like, just let him get one more word in. And then it
Talk
just,
to
every
Barry.
time, she presses down and it's so frustrating.
Sucks so much.
You should make an alternate scene where he gets to talk to Barry Manilow.
Recreate the whole movie.
Yeah.
What would have happened if he got to talk to
What
Barry
happened if he
Manilow?
got to- what does Barry Manilow have to say?
Dude, that guy, the nerd guy, he has like the coolest basement ever. Like,
Oh, he does.
It is,
Yeah.
it
Yes.
is just awesome. Like,
He's got like Beetlejuice basement vibes.
dude, it's so cool.
Yeah, I always think it's funny too that the little figure that he uses to represent Mike Dexter looks so much like Mike Dexter. I don't know if you guys noticed that, but like on the table, he has this table where he's setting up like the scene where they're doing their plan, and this little figure, it literally looks like they made a little figure of Mike Dexter, but it must just be some NFL player. But it always makes me laugh.
Imagine he made it. He's like, man, I really hate this guy.
I know.
I hate his chiseled jaw that I gotta include here.
I know.
I gotta go. Yeah, he does that, but then the two guys that are with him are Boba Fett and then the other one I can't remember what the.
Grand Moff Tarkin.
Yep, that one.
Yeah. Yeah. One of my favorite parts of the movie too is the band. I love the
yeah.
band
The
so
shirt.
much. I have a shirt from the band out of love for that band. It makes me so sad every time that they never get to play a song together. And it's just so funny to me that just how they break up and come together is so funny to me.
Yeah.
And I do have a soft spot for it too because Romeo and Juliet is playing in the background when they finally come back together. But I just think that they're just so funny too, and I like that a lot.
All the subplots in this movie are actually like they're really funny, and I think they're actually really well written. I feel like it's very like high school makeup. Well, back then high school, now high school probably not because they don't really have phones, but I think they're all like well thought out.
Yes.
Dude, my favorite cutaway though, like, is when the nerds are on the roof and they're just sitting there. Also, my favorite one is when they just drop the flashlights off the roof. They're like, dude, it's pretty dark up here.
I know. Some of the line delivery is just so great, and it like these lines will just play over in my head like all the time. Like the way that William will be like when he finally gets up to Mike and he's like, dude, there's this chick by the pool house. There's two chicks. They're triplets, man. Like it just plays through my head so much, also like with the after Amanda kind of like walks away from Mike when they have the big scene in the party, and Mike's like, he doesn't say it specifically this way, but he says, I'll beat up everyone in this room, and it just like, I don't know. I just love the way that these actors brought these characters to life just so much.
Yeah, I'm gonna bring up the Futures Women scene again.
Yes.
'Cause I just thought that was so funny. It's like all these high school girls, you know, they all suck, and we're about to date, you know, real women. And then it goes, oh yeah, then it gets so progressive and feminist. Like, oh yeah, the future is women. It's just so funny.
Yeah, and like how the way that they set that up too with like, do you know who's in college, man? Girls who used to be in high school. So yeah, no, that scene is great. And the same thing, it goes really for like that whole opening part, the dialogue transitions too. You know, you go from Mike Dexter's a god, Mike Dexter's a role model, and then it cuts to William and he says his line, you know, Mike Dexter is just I don't know. It's just so clever to me. I don't know.
The scene of him in the bathroom is just so funny. That's the way
Dude.
he has like a checklist of everything he has to do before
I know.
he hooks up.
I know. And we were talking about that too.
He could have done it all before the party. Like,
Right.
he was taking the book out and he was reading. He's like, oh my god, this is innovative. Like,
He's
I
like
was
going
saying
through the
that.
motions of it. Like, why are you doing this right now?
practicing.
Why are you doing that? Like, if you were gonna do this, which like, why are you doing this in the first place? But B, if you're gonna do this, why didn't you do this like, not 2 seconds before you were gonna go for it? You know?
yeah.
Also, he does not look like he's gonna graduate high school. He looks like a freshman.
The colleges these people get into is so crazy.
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
At the beginning, like all of them get into like insane
Like-
colleges. Like,
What Denise has no
NYU.
activities and goes to NYU.
Harvard.
Same with Kenny, who's going to
Ithaca.
UCLA.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like, it's just
it's
funny.
just admissions have gotten so much worse now. Like, these kids had it nice.
They had it
honestly.
so easy.
when there was that scene in the bathroom and he fell on the floor, and he's like, I watched that with Luke, and he said, I think I've had an early evacuation. I thought he said I had an early evacuation. I was like, how does that even work? Like, and
Yeah.
then Luke had to go back and be like, no, he said I had an early evacuation.
It's the way, like, why was he doing it like that?
I know. Like he thought he was. That's how it was. I don't know. That scene is just so
He
funny.
thinks
Yeah.
that's how it works.
Because wait, they were gonna go behind,
They're gonna go in the pool house.
right?
Mhm.
Was he gonna do that in the pool house? Like, what's in the
Like-
pool house to like?
Well, we didn't see the inside of the pool house. I think
Is she
No.
flying? Like,
she's floating up on the off the
Yeah.
floor.
all right, let's list off some fun facts. And
I kind of listed off a lot of the fun facts while we were talking. There was also a subplot originally where there was a dog that like got out, and there like the girl who's I think I mean I assume it's the girl, but they were like people were looking for the dog, and then he comes back at the end, but they cut that because they just said it wasn't very funny. But like they said that there was a shot. There is a shot that you can see like the top of the dog's head running out the door. And I mean, no, there's no way to notice it unless like you were looking for it. But that's just one of the things that they cut. So
yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. I saw a thing earlier where it was like the guy that plays Preston, he looks like one of the oldest people here, but he was like actually 19 when he filmed it, so he was like one of the youngest ones. I thought that was pretty funny.
That's the thing with like all these high school movies, that it's just that everybody looks so old.
Yeah.
Like,
They're
all the time.
adults. I mean,
yeah, I don't know if you saw the article that I sent you,
I saw it.
but there's this article about the guy who plays Preston, and he'll say that like people will come up and ask him about the movie, and he just won't remember. He doesn't remember anything about the movie
I bet.
because he was just high the whole time that they were filming the movie. And I thought that was really funny. But another thing is originally the opening scene that's at graduation where him and Denise are talking about how it's fate. Amanda broke up with Mike at this night, and now I have to go for it. Originally, that happened in a bookstore, and they had shot it, and you can actually see in the extra features of this DVD, they have the theatrical trailer, and it includes parts from that. But it wasn't as high energy enough for like a graduation movie. So then they had to actually take place in a graduation, but they had to shoot the opening montage kind of like 2 weeks before the film released, because they kind of added it in so last minute, and they had to like paint Preston's actor's head because he like dyed his hair black since they filmed. So I don't know. I just thought that was all really funny too.
You know, it is interesting to think about if you're like filming, like you're acting in a film, to like wrap your head around the series of events, because most of the time they don't film in order. So like,
Oh yeah.
well, you're like, okay, this scene would have led into that scene that we filmed like 2 weeks ago, which is like,
Yeah, that too. The first scene that Denise and Kenny filmed together was the last scene when he's driving after her in the car.
Oh.
So it's just funny to see that, because it's hard to imagine that they acted that, not having like, obviously they've read the script, but
Yeah, the
not having
chemistry.
like, lived that chemistry. So yeah.
So who's gonna throw the Academy graduation party that we reenact this movie at?
Yes. If I could go to a Can't Hardly Wait, I would not want to throw a Can't Hardly Wait party.
Oh,
But if I could be at a Can't Hardly Wait party, just to observe, that would be
Observe,
fun.
just stand in the corner, watch everything go down.
get someone else to do it.
Dude, you'd be like her sitting on the couch, just with the
Dude.
spray
She
stuff.
takes her jacket on and puts it back on.
That was so funny.
Yes. Oh, another thing that's really cool about her is the scene right after he kisses her, and she has that like confusion, and then that smile comes on for a second, and then it goes away. I thought that was really good acting too. So
Yeah, they're all really good actors.
I actually
They
thought
are.
she was gonna be gay before the scene with Kenny because
Yeah.
of the way she kind of interacted with that girl on the couch. I was like, oh wait, and it would also make sense because she has like that little subplot, but then
Right.
that whole thing with Kenny happened. And I was like, oh, she's just kind of like,
She's just a little
Yeah.
fruity.
yeah.
yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah, I kind of agree. And I felt like it was another similar thing too because I thought when I first watched this movie, I was like, okay, well, he's not really going to end up with Amanda. He's going to end up with this girl who he's been friends with for so long. And I thought it was really cool that they didn't do that because that was supposed like the trope of like realizing that your best friend was the one you're supposed to be with all along. That was kind of a subversion of the trope of like the people who were originally perfect for each other end up together, but then at that point that's just kind of tired. So I thought that this was like refreshing because of that.
It never made sense to me. I think when the best friends get together, like, you've been finding after this person for a year and a half. You don't just suddenly have feelings for your best friend.
Yeah.
And like even if they had feelings for you, I don't get that like
Mm-hmm.
just in movies.
Yeah.
I think that's a good spot to end off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, obviously I really like this movie. If you have not seen Can't Hardly Wait, I don't know why you've listened to 50 minutes of this podcast, but if you haven't seen Can't Hardly Wait, it comes highly recommended. And I think that we would all agree on that.
Yes. 5 stars on Letterboxd. I need to put it in my Letterboxd. I haven't done it yet.
Yeah, it was good.
It was a really
Really
good
good.
movie.
I recommend. And
Okay.
I think a lot of the teachers I've talked to about this today actually also really like this movie.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. So thank you for listening. We will release what our next movie will be sometime in the next week, and we will see you next episode.
Hi.
Bye.
Adios.
Okay.